Hello, everybody. Welcome to another DMV CBN podcast. I'm your host, Freddie, the DMV comic book nerd, and I'm here today to discuss a very exciting comic book with you guys. And I have a very special guest lined up. So, today I'd like to introduce you guys to Adam Downing, the founder and CEO of BreakThru Comics and Resolve Comics. And he's also the writer of the book Super Dangerous. All right.
What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. It's good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Welcome to
Appreciate
the
it.
show.
Yeah, thank you for
Glad
having me.
glad that you're here. Can't wait to discuss this book, Super Dangerous,
Hey,
issue number
nice.
1. For anyone who hasn't read this book yet, go read it because we might discuss spoilers, but we're going to discuss everything related to Resolve Comics and BreakThru Comics. First question I'd like to ask you is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your origins, like your superhero origin, like what got you into comic books?
Sure. Yeah. Adam Downing, 30 from Baltimore, Maryland. Um, I think, as far as like comic books, I was introduced to those at a relatively young age. I was kind of a Marvel, Spider-Man, really like an ultimate, Marvel kind of kid. Um,
Yeah,
so I,
me too.
right, so I grew up on those titles, and then that was really for my comic book journey. For a while, that was it, and I kind of was for the most part, an anime and like manga kid. Like that's, what I mean. The bulk of my whatever consumption was that.
Nice.
So,
Any specific ones you want to shout out?
I think the one that really like catalyzed me was like Naruto. Like I followed that series like all the way through. And I definitely had like breaks, but like I just remember like, you know, especially as it was ending, like kind of catching back up to it and just like falling back in love with it. But as far as like me and my comic book journey or like my, how I got started with this, I've always just kind of had an overactive imagination. I've always had like storylines and stuff in my head going. So, like I said, around like 2016, I think is when it kind of clicked to me that I would like to start putting these down and really organizing them and publishing them as comics.
Very cool. So that leads me to my next question. When did Breakthrough and Resolve Comics start? Can you tell us about that?
I think Breakthrough Comics really started around 2020, 2019. The idea. Um, you know, that story that I started developing back in like 2016, I, like I remember back in 20, it was like kind of the long version, but in back in 2016, I remember like, deciding that I wanted to write a comic. And I remember like approaching a lot of my friends and being like, hey, dude, do you want to write this with me? And like everybody liked the idea, but as with most things, in life, everybody likes the idea of like the finished product. Not many people are actually willing to like grind and do like the tedious parts of getting to that finished product. So
Hmm.
I found that I wasn't super like motivated. I didn't know what I was doing. So it really took me to like 2019 to really like buckle down and start um just writing things out. And what ended up happening was that story that I started in 2016, by the time I like really started fleshing things out in like 2019 and through like the pandemic shutdown, which really gave me a lot of time to start writing. I basically came up with like that story. I was like, I needed a prequel to that. So the prequel series to that story that I started coming up with ended up being Project Angel, which was my first comic that I ever released.
Very
And
cool.
as I mentioned, that got written through like the pandemic and the shutdown and whatnot. So
Awesome. So Can you tell us more about the two different names, like Breakthrough Comics and Resolve Comics?
Sure. So yeah, like I said, Breakthrough Comics, that got started 2020, shut down. The main differentiator between those is that Breakthrough Comics is like a shared universe. So every title under Breakthrough Comics, which as of right now it's only two titles, but those two titles are interconnected. Like they take place in the same universe. They're gonna cross over. All characters under Breakthrough Comics would cross over eventually. And yeah, it's like my Marvel, my DC, right?
Nice.
Resolve Comics came about, I want to say like 2022, 2023-ish. Yeah, like 2022, 2023-ish. Because I had one of my stories called The Toys Who Walk, which is about like a group of sentient action figures who have to survive like outside. That was an idea that I had and I really liked it, but I didn't want to connect it to the Breakthrough universe. So I came up with Resolve Comics as a banner under which I could publish stories that would kind of stand in their own universes and they wouldn't be interconnected.
Okay,
So
kind of like a Elseworlds or
yeah,
Ultimate kind of line.
yeah,
Cool.
something like that. More, it's like my Image Comics for real.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
All right. Let me try to quickly share my screen so that people can kind of see what we're talking about here.
Sure.
I'll pull up the titles on your website here at
Oh yeah,
breakthroughcomics.com. You guys can see Offspring and Project Angel.
there
All
it
right.
is.
These are
Yep,
all right. And then we go to Resolve Comics. We got Super Dangerous, number one, and The Toys Who Walk, number one.
exactly.
So I
All
so
stocked on the website.
I haven't read all these books yet, but I have read Super Dangerous, and I am very excited to talk to you about that and learn more about the other books as well. Um, so let's get into it. Super Dangerous, number one,
All right.
starring Josh Sanders. He's 19 years old and he's got superpowers.
Yes, sir.
Um, how would, what would you like to tell our listeners about this book?
Um, what do I like to talk about this book? It's just like a roller coaster of a book, from start to finish. Um, this is one that kind of pops off immediately. It's like not the culmination of like everything. It's like it's definitely made use of a lot of things that I've learned throughout my writing journey from all the books between Project Angel to The Toys Who Walk and Offspring. Like everything I've learned kind of gets applied here. And most of all, this was just like the most fun I've ever had writing a story. And I think it comes through on the pages. So
Yeah, like this is a very fun book, very exciting, lots of action. A lot happens in just one
thousand.
issue. And
Yep.
you go through, you explore different genres. It's like political, but it's also sci-fi, it's also action, and it's also so supernatural. There's a supernatural element that comes in. Um,
Yeah.
very exciting. Um, yeah, let me see here. I want to ask about the characters. We're introduced to Josh Sanders at the very beginning, and we learn that his powers are kind of like Superman.
Pretty much.
Um, so was Superman a big influence? What were your influences in creating this title?
Um, what were my influences? I want to say Superman was, but he really wasn't. Like, because I never read or was like a heavy Superman fan. I did borrow. You know what? I'll be honest. Even the homage, the back cover, like it is a Superman homage. But if I'm being so honest, it's more like there's another indie creator, Daniel Calban, and he has a series called American Dreams, and
Hmm.
his front cover of his has his character Liberty, I believe the name is, and he's doing the Superman homage, and I saw that, and I was like, all right, I need John to do, I need one of those basically. So like if it is ultimately a Superman homage, but if anything, it was more so an homage to Daniel's Superman homage, if that even makes
Okay,
sense.
that's interesting. Yeah, like sometimes things are we don't always see like the first iteration of something, but maybe a later iteration is the one that stands out to us. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And maybe
Um,
this iteration of a superhero will be the one that stands out to future generations because, to me, when I was reading, I was like, this has like the elements of Superman, but
yeah,
because he's black and because he's from Earth, like it instantly more relatable in a way.
yeah.
Um, and I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that can go with that.
I think a lot of it is like, once again, throw back to Project Angel and like how that was written during 2020, and we're talking about like political things and all that. And not that it even gets super political, but like this book once again is kind of, and so is Project Angel, is kind of ultimately a catharsis. Like as like a young black man, like or I guess I'm not that young anymore, shit. But as a black,
I feel
I
you.
mean, right. But as a black man in America, I think reading like it's just important to have stories where like I don't even know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I know like it. I just like the fact that yeah, like nobody can ever really. That's not true. Yeah, I don't know. I just like the imagery. Like Jazz, he's powerful as hell. He has a cool look. He's authentic. He's not like a bad person. Like he's a good kid. Um, then yeah, I don't know.
No, I agree. Yeah, like it is great imagery. It's powerful imagery because like to see a young black man who wears a hoodie be powerful and like and not be afraid of getting shot at, to me, like that just speaks volumes and like and he's trying to do good in the world and he's trying to make like active change like in ways that today we're still fighting for like he managed to get all the world's governments to do a global ceasefire on all conflicts and creating world peace. He he says he's got the president about to go live to announce reparations for descendants of slaves and indigenous people.
Right,
And then but then we quickly find out that the government is going to do everything they can to try and stop and try
right,
to get control over him by spoiler alert by capturing his family.
right,
So like this immediately gets into some very heavy, very serious territory because he's got to go save his family from the government, from the American government. They've done nothing wrong except just be his family. So he's got to go save them at Area 51. And yeah, lots of great action, lots of great art. I got to shout out your artist, Lord Katodwe. Did I say that correct?
yeah, I believe so. He's never corrected me. So Katodwe is fucking fire, man. Like I can't sing his
Yeah,
praises enough. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. You can see the love in his art on every page, and the coloring too. He does the lines and
Mhm.
the colors. It's amazing.
He does. He
And we also got Sarahi Akanto on lettering and titles.
goes crazy. She does all my lettering these days.
Yeah, great stuff there. Very distinct. And
Appreciate
then
that.
you've got variant covers by Amari Morales and Omoboriwo. I'm going to screw this up. I'm sorry, but um Omo Boriowo. Did I say that right? Omo
I never tried to say
Boriowo.
his name out loud before. Omoboriowo.
This is
Omoboriowo.
yeah, this
I
is
think
why
it's
podcasts exist. So we can try to learn these names.
right.
Hopefully
Reading it,
maybe
I
they
think
can
it's Omoboriowo. But I just call him McJart because that's his handle on Instagram.
cool.
I don't
Awesome.
have his cover, but I do have Amari's on me. So this is Amari's is his cover is like I'm only printing 50 of those, and that's like what I mean?
Yeah, that's a sick
Yeah,
cover. Yeah. And it's
super
also
good.
printed here in the comic
Exactly.
here.
Yep.
Is this the other one? Is this
Yes.
JR?
Yeah. That's it.
They're all really coal. Yeah, the
Appreciation.
artwork is amazing. I love it. It almost kind of like the interiors kind of remind me a a mix of things. Like I was getting a little bit of like Steve McNiven, but also
Mm,
I was getting some anime influences and
yeah,
manga. So like
heavy on.
uh someone said it was like the Boondocks a little bit, very cool. Like I mean just it's great to look at.
Yeah,
And it's expressive. It's there's the action flows. Can't praise all that enough. And
I appreciate
it's creative too. Like everything you're putting into this like one issue, you've got, like I said, we've got supernatural monsters, we've got soldiers, we've got glowing swords, we've got a witch like character.
right.
Um, so let's talk a little bit about her.
Yes.
I want to say Zella, the Necromancer Supreme. Is that how you say
Yeah.
her name?
I switch between Zella and Zilla when I'm saying her name in my head. I don't even know
Zilla.
how to. Yeah, I'll go between Zella and Zilla, however you want to say it. You know what I mean?
Okay. I want to say Exzilla. No.
Yeah, right. Excellent. Nah, yeah, she's an interesting character. She was she was like the former Dark Lord. She was like, there's two magic systems and there's like I probably like my power system is like all over the place. I probably have multiple power systems in this series, but there's two magic systems. It's like light side, dark side. Light side is
Hmm.
like Lumine magic, and then dark side is like chaos magic. So Zella is like chaos magic lord. Like she's like prodigy. You know what I mean? She was a prodigy from a young age. And she's like to date been the most powerful to ever do it. And yeah, she almost conquered this. Like yeah, she almost I mean she was on her Genghis Khan, but she got sealed away, and yeah, so she's been in the system in the penitentiary for the last 3,000 years. Type shit.
Yeah, she mentioned she was trapped there by her twin sister, who's
Solitary.
on the opposite side. And
Yep.
yeah, so I'm getting a little bit of like Scarlet Witch vibes from Zella, maybe some
Right.
Doctor Strange or something like that, because she seems very powerful when it comes to magic. And so I'm not going to spoil too much about how she's involved in the plot, but yeah, I'm interested to see where this goes because yeah, I want to ask you how many issues do you have planned so far, or how far are you hoping to go with this series?
Uh, that's a good question. I think realistically, this thing could probably hit like if it's like unlimited funds and all that, like
Yeah,
this
dream
thing would
scenario.
probably, yeah, dream scenario, this thing would probably hit like, I think it could hit like 100 issues if we really
Yeah,
wanted to, if everything, like, if it blew up and everything was in place.
I could see that.
Realistically, uh, I don't know, honestly. I think because like this was only supposed to be like a three shot. This started out as like a one shot, and then it was like a
Hmm.
three shot, and then it just became like a series because there was way too much to cover. And I think you can also get a sense of like how fast like how fast the first issue moves. But um
Yeah,
yeah, I would say this thing's probably like Lord willing gonna go on for at least like 30, 50 issues, probably longer than that.
and that'd be awesome because like in this one issue alone, there's so many things that intrigue me. Like I want to know more about Josh Sanders. Like where is he from? Um, what's his inner what's his relationship with his family like? Um,
Right.
like he mentions that he was a college student right before he got his powers. So like, is he still in school or is he gonna go back to school or is he gonna finish school or is he just gonna be a superhero full time? Um, is he gonna meet other superheroes? I mean, he does meet the Zella, so maybe that might
I,
be the beginning.
everything you
Some
just said pretty much to your, hopefully gives you a little bit more, gives you some hope, gets like addressed slash answered between issues like two. Like a lot of it is gonna, a lot of like what happened in issue one, including like the new player at the end on the board,
Hmm.
that gets addressed in issue two. That gets wrapped up in issue two. Like everything, a lot of what you're saying in regards to like his background, his family, that also gets addressed and answered kind of in issue number two as well.
All
Um,
right. Looking
and then
forward to that.
yeah, issue number three is, like not trying to spoil. I don't think this is a spoiler, but like definitely serves as more of a springboard, um, or like introduction for like the other heroes in this, or like the first generation of heroes in the Super Dangerverse. I'll put it like that.
I
So
like that. Sounds very, very exciting.
yeah,
Um, all right. I want to ask you a little bit more about, like, we kind of briefly touched on it, but like, do you have any thoughts about Black representation in comic books that you'd like to share with us?
Black representation in comic books. Kind of. Not like I don't have any like super hot takes outside of just like I don't know. I don't know if there's I think it's a good thing. I think it's a better thing when we have more black characters who aren't side characters, like black main characters who are written by black people who like
Yeah,
are gonna do them justice. And also like who people who just like who see them ultimately as like characters or like main characters and not like the black character or like you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I think it is super important, especially for us black creators, to like not just like have black characters or like do the representation thing, but to also like do our part to like make sure our stories are tight and like the stories are good. Like give you know what I mean? Like
yes,
give really good stories that have black characters. You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Like, so it has that universal appeal, and anyone can read it. But
True.
like, but the fact that it's like censoring Black characters, like right now, it's a big deal because we just don't have as many Black characters by Black authors in the forefront. But in
Yeah.
the future, hopefully, it'll be so normal that we can just appreciate the story on its own terms.
Right.
And
And it's
I
just like
think,
yeah,
go
black
ahead.
kids can like have like their black kids can have like their main character that they love that's
Mhm.
black that looks like them. Like they can see that, and the character doesn't have to be like always, relegated to like a side character or like a comic relief position or like a
Yeah.
Vegeta role where he always needs to get bailed out or some shit. Like, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? It's
Yeah. Like like right now, there's a lot of talk about Superman. You got a new movie coming up. You got a new animated show on TV right now. I
mm,
will mention, like, Jimmy Olsen is black in the cartoon, and
oh
but
yeah,
like I say, he's kind of like he's on the side. He's like the best friend. He's like always getting saved or whatever. And then you got
yeah,
and then in the movie they just released some pictures of Mr. Terrific. And he's pretty comic book accurate. So it's
okay,
exciting that he's even in the movie.
right,
But again, to me, it does kind of feel like he's probably going to be off to the
the
side
side,
because it's not about Mr. Terrific. It's about Superman
yeah,
because it's always about Superman. And I
right,
love Superman. I got my Superman shirt on, but I'm just saying, I, the older I get, the more I'm aware of, when Black people are featured in comic books, when Black people are creating the comic books, and when they're not, like, or the movies and all this stuff.
yeah,
So it's very it makes me very happy to see, you know, folks like me doing the work, starting their own businesses, making their own comics, putting it out there. Like, this
right,
is a quality comic, guys. Like, even the paper quality is great. Like,
yes,
it's
sir.
the printing is beautiful. Like, you guys did excellent work making this happen. And
Thank you.
I can only imagine how much work it took because I've never made like a comic book like this before. So, like you were saying earlier, it takes work.
Yeah,
So
yeah. A lot of
congratulations.
more more cash on my part. A lot of the work is a lot of the leg work is done by Katodwe. You know, like I said,
Mhm.
when I found him, his panels, like I hired him for a job for some concept art for a comic under BreakThru that never like took off. But like I just noticed from the jump his manga panels were like professional quality. Like he was putting up professional quality manga panels, and then like that piece of concept art was just like, all right, we need to work together on something. And then whatever inspiration hit me for Super Dangerous, that just got, vomited out. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'll get you on this. Like,
That's awesome. Is he also local to Baltimore or just
he's from
where's he
Ghana,
from?
I believe.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's from Ghana. So
Uh,
shout out to Ghana.
Shout out to Ghana.
Yeah.
Um,
He's also an
Shout out
engineering
to
student.
Baltimore because we are DMV comic book nerds. I'm based in Washington D.C., so not too far.
Nice.
Um, I do want to shout out that the Baltimore Comic Book Convention is coming up soon,
It is.
on September 22nd, I want to say.
Okay.
Um, so are you guys planning to go to that? Anyone from Resolve Comics or
Oof.
Breakthrough
Uh,
Comics?
I'll probably stop through just as a visitor as myself. I did reach out a couple weeks ago. I was like, hey, you guys have any tables available? And they're like, nah, it's that shit is all booked up. I'll
Oh,
probably
yeah,
yeah, more than likely I'll make it a point to go next year. But we will
yeah.
be at BlurredCon in National Harbor in a couple weeks. So
Oh wow, BlurCon. Okay, so thank
yeah.
you for telling me this because I did not know that. Let me look
Yeah.
it up. All right, so BlurCon. Let's get the exact dates on that.
Should be the 12th
Um,
to the 14th
yeah,
of July.
12th to the 14th of July. Thank you. All right, so
Yes, sir.
you're gonna be there. Maybe I can try to swing it. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Hell yeah, dude. Swing
I
by.
love to promote local events. Like I want people in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and even from abroad, from
Yeah,
further out. If you guys are interested, come on out here. Let us know you're
please.
coming. Leave a comment. Um, and then when after you've gone, tell us about your experience. I'm all about building the community here around comic books.
Nice.
All right.
Awesome.
Let's see. All right. So I had another question for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about your other titles? Like, let's start with like the toys.
Right.
I want to learn about the Toys Who Walk.
Okay. Yeah, Toys Who Walk is like a love letter to all my action figures from my youth. Um, and like I mentioned, the overactive imagination, like that's a lot of these storylines and stuff that I put into my books. You might see people may, not that they would recognize them, but when people are reading them, they may see, bits and pieces of, things from my childhood and my imagination there. And yeah, I've always, I love Toy Story was one of my favorite movies when I was a child, when I first
Yeah,
owned VHS tapes when those were a thing. And, Small Soldiers was also my shit. And just, I love the concept of like toys being alive and like having to run around and, get around the real world. So I made it into a comic book.
very cool.
Yeah. So
Who are the main players in the comic?
main character is the vigilante. He's kind of in the middle there, the black suited, red masked action figure. Um, he's kind of based off he character wise represents my old Spider-Man action figure. I had like a really hyper like a Spider-Man, like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man action figure with all the movable joints and shit. You could really get
Hmm.
him to do a bunch of shit. Um, could really pose him a lot. But yeah, so that's V the vigilante. He's like the leader. He's like the Rick Grimes of the group. His innate drive to like survive, his innate, yeah, sense of like survival is, what is going to drive him to look for and come up with solutions and ways out when things seem hopeless for the group. And that's what
Okay.
kind of ultimately, you know, has everybody, all the other toys. That's why they ultimately look to him to lead.
Cool.
So it's V. Um, Warrior Maiden just below him. She's like the Chun-Li knockoff. All of these guys are knockoffs minus V, but you
That's
you
all right.
know you can tell exactly who they are, right? But Warrior Maiden, she's like the Chun-Li knockoff. She's the martial arts specialist. She loves, she taught herself a bunch of different she taught herself like a mix of martial arts through, YouTube instructions and just sparring with her fellow toys. And to the left of V, you got Athena, the um, you have Athena and Warrior Viking, right? They're like Wonder
Hmm.
Woman and Thor, right? Knockoffs, but those
Okay.
are those are the homies. They chill, they like to hang out, they like to fuck around and joke around. Like they're just the homies. And Athena's kind of a bully, but she's also like funny, so it's cool. It's whatever. uh, Yeah, I mean, Bruiser, the ape man up top, he's the bigger, one of the biggest probably toys in the room. Um, and he's the Hulk knockoff, lovable giant, yada yada. At the bottom we have Corporal Justice and Ghost Major, right? um,
It's
and
like a
those got
Cap Winter Soldier kind of
Yeah, exactly.
knockoff.
Yeah.
Cool,
Those
cool.
are once again, those are the homies, but they also are really cool with Warrior Maiden. So she kind of taught them how to like a little bit of martial arts, and they hang out too. Um, the Roblox character, Flamehead, he's kind of the resident like tech specialist, and
Okay.
yeah, Peppermint is the other Minecraft girl in front of the knockoff Invincible comics. That's like his love interest. So these are like the
Nice.
main cast of toys is like the main group, and then obviously there's like a bunch of other sentient action figures within the group that these guys are pretty much having to take care of and guide and defend throughout the series.
Very cool. It sounds like they definitely have a life of their own, all these
Yeah,
characters.
yeah. Truthfully, if I'm being really honest, I think for now, like issue number two is about to come out. And similar to like my other series, like Offspring and Project Angel, I think we're probably going to end up putting this one on hiatus as well.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, like Amari's dope. He's done his thing with the panels and the covers, and I love this story a lot, and I think it's really cool. But I'm having trouble marketing it and selling it.
Mm.
So the reception hasn't been terrible, but it's like it's not where I think it would need to be for like to run a
Hmm.
successful campaign. So
Gotcha.
I guess yeah, that's this one, with issue number two that's coming out in like a month or so. That's probably going to cap that off for a little while. And then I'm actually going to be working on, I haven't even told Amari this yet, but I'm going to be working on another series with Amari. I have the script ready for that first issue. It's called Dragonites. It's like it's another like character design wise, it's similar to, at least character design wise, the main character is like similar to Josh Sanders. Story wise, it's similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's a group of like four. It's like Avatar: The Last Airbender meets Black Clover. It's like a group of four, magic knights who ride dragons. They're black kids, like, kind of like Naruto, like 13-year-old child soldier type shit. Um, and they have to go off on an adventure and travel, to different kingdoms because somebody's doing some fuck shit. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a Dark Lord. He's doing some shit. They gotta, travel to fight that. Um, so
Well,
yeah,
I'm intrigued. I mean, you gotta go where your creativity leads you, and like I said, the marketing and the the audience, that's also a factor in things. So I get that.
yeah,
Hopefully. we'll continue to spread the word about all these titles, and hopefully we might get some new readers off of this
Appreciate that.
podcast, or maybe even just spreading the word. I'm going to try to keep spreading the word about you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. I can't. I'll make sure to show you when I get some concept art done. I have an idea for like a wrap. I don't know if it'll be a wraparound cover or just like a poster, but I have a really good idea for some Dragonite concept art that I think will give you and everybody else a better idea of the vision here. Because yeah, shit is gonna be dope, man. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
I
Black
mean, who
Kids
doesn't love
Magic.
dragons, right? House of the
Dragons.
Dragon is very popular right now.
It's
I'm
like
actually not watching that, but I'm hearing everybody else is watching it. Are you watching that?
I not yet. I gotta catch up. I've been letting them stockpile. The dragons is like it's definitely gonna be a cool part, but I think like it's also for me at least, it's gonna be a chance to like dip my hands into some more like fantasy, like magic, things like that. And
Yeah,
yeah, Black Kids with Magic, you know what I mean?
love
It'll be
it.
fun.
Like, I mean, honestly, we need more takes on that where it's like more about the fun and the action and the fantasy of it.
Yeah,
Whereas, like, because I watched that Magical Negroes movie that came out
none of that.
recently, and
Yeah, none of
it,
that.
it and they were barely even magical, honestly. Like, they didn't
No.
have any powers worth having.
This is more like I'll amend my earlier. This is like Boruto meets Black Clover because this is like the main character Axis. He's like the son of the Cloud King. Like he's a prince who like is in his father's shadow. He has his friends. They got to go do. So it's like this is race almost. I'm not gonna say it isn't a thing here, but to your point, it's like nah. There's a whole story going on, and these characters are just black and like cool looking. Dope.
That's
Yeah.
what we I think that's what a lot of us readers want to see. Like, we want to see where it's like, yes, the characters are black, but like the story is not about their race all the time. Like,
Right.
maybe sometimes it might come into play, but like generally, sometimes we want fantasy, sometimes we want action, sometimes we just want, an escape, honestly, because that's
Yeah.
kind of what comic books are for sometimes. Now,
Yeah.
and sometimes we do have, stuff we want to reflect about the real world too. But that's what the great thing about comics. There's all kinds of stories that can be told.
Yes, sir.
Um, I also want to, if you don't mind, can you tell us more about your breakthrough comics about Resolve Angel and Offspring? I'm sorry,
Sure.
Project Angel and
Sure.
Offspring.
Sure. Yeah, like I said, Project Angel was the first comic I ever wrote. It was, it came about because when I started hunkering down like late 2018 or like late 2019 into 2020, um, and I started building out like the breakthrough universe, it became apparent that I would want to start with Project Angel as a prequel series because in the original series, that main character of what would have been, I guess, Project Angel, Obsidian, she like by the time she comes around, like these two characters, Achi and Kaya, like they'd be like, time skipped, 5 years older, super suited up, kind of like worn down a little bit from the shit, like you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, so through planning, I figured out that we had to start with Project Angel. That's what we did. That's what I did. It was really fun. I learned how to write a comic, like a lot of the comic book writing skills, the fundamentals were learned through this. I learned a lot of what works, a lot of what doesn't work. Um, yeah, every between writing, like brainstorming, scripting, dialogue, editing, and then not just all of that, but like finding an artist, like where to look for an artist,
Mm-hmm.
budgeting for an artist, uh, you know, all of that was learned through making this book. Um, so this thing took me this, yeah,
That's amazing. Like I always say, we learn best by doing, and
that's facts.
and I see that you're doing a lot, like just like with each new title that you're putting out to learn as you go. I think that's amazing.
Appreciate you.
Um, all right, let's talk about Offspring. Got two issues out here.
Right. As far as Offspring goes, uh, that was, obviously my second book I wrote. My boy Martin, from Chile was on the lines, the ink. It's a black and white comic. And yeah, it's about a guy from Philly, a stoner kind of guy. He's down on his luck. He's stuck in this dead end job, and things are kind of all going wrong for him, And then kind of further that one night he gets caught up in a he basically gets caught up with some things, and he ends up being pulled into a blood feud between lichens and vampires. So this was like heavily influenced by the Underworld movie franchise, um, and then just the whole like lichens and vampires thing. That was originally going to be like a big part of the BreakThru universe, but like that kind of like that idea kind of got canned. And then like when we were like after Project Angel wrapped and everything, and I was kind of developing Offspring, I was like, you know what, let's bring that back and let's just make that like another part of the universe. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a really fun book. And I like it a lot.
No, the
But
premise sounds dope. Like, sounds
super.
very cool. Everybody loves vampires these days.
Yeah.
I do myself, so I might have to check this one out as well.
It was
Um,
definitely the vibe was like it's definitely like a darker vibe, and like as far as the main character goes, it was gonna kind of go in that like Tokyo Ghoul sort of direction. But
okay,
yeah, once again we kind of didn't make it there. So hopefully it gets
all
picked
right.
back. Hopefully in the future, I'll be in a position where I can start putting these series back out. And
Yeah,
yeah.
all right. So, one more question. Have
Hmm?
you always lived in Baltimore, or did you move to Baltimore?
I've always been I haven't always lived in Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore. I left like in 2013, 2014 to go to college in Virginia.
Yeah.
Uh when I came out,
Where'd you go, if you don't mind me asking?
Hampton University
Okay.
briefly. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm a DC native, but I'm kind of similar because I went to VCU for college
Nice.
for a bit.
Nice. Yeah.
Um,
I dropped out, came back here, raised
mhm.
old in Towson, but I've kind of been here since. But yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Like
Yeah.
I always feel extra excited to speak to local creators. Like I feel like the whole goal of the MV Comic Book Nerds is just to broaden that community, especially the local community. Because like I don't know about you, but I know for me when I started reading comic books, it was such a solitary experience. Like I was like
Yeah.
reading them, you read them by yourself. You try to get your friends to read them, but they're not interested.
Right.
and then
Uh,
like, and then you go on the internet, and it's like a worldwide thing, so you don't always really know people. So yeah, I think through this podcast, I'm getting to meet new people through Zoom and YouTube, and then as we look at these different events going on, like it's been a great way for me to connect with people. And
yeah.
thank you so much for coming on today and telling us
Thank
about
you, man.
all the comics you've got out right now.
Thank you, man.
So do you want to leave your socials for everybody before we wrap up?
Sure. I do also want to make like one small announcement.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
so I don't even know if I probably don't need to announce this in any capacity at all right now, but I'm going to. Um,
I'll take an
so
exclusive.
yeah, right. In addition to Dragonites, which is like a lot closer to actually being in production since that script is finished. Um, my father and I are actually working on a series that's like kind of more like Star Trekky, Star Warsy, like Space Odyssey, wars in space, things like that. Starship Troopers
Okay.
kind of shit. So that is, I don't know, it's in production. Look out for for some spaceships, some comic about, space captains and space wars and shit. And
All right.
we
Yeah,
got some
that sounds
crazy.
cool. That's
I
dope.
said we got some crazy shit in development. I'll put it like that. Got a very
All
big
right.
universe that we're working on.
And you said you're working on that with your dad?
I'm working on that with my dad. Correct.
Oh man, that's amazing. Like
Yeah.
I don't know your dad, but I will just say, just try to take advantage of just that time that you guys are gonna spend together on this because just because my dad passed away about 2 years ago. So like,
Condolences, man.
I always just like want to encourage people to appreciate their family time while they can, you know.
Yeah. As I grow older, I think about, that um much against my will. Like I don't like to, but I'm aware.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
do. If that
Mhm.
helps, I really do.
Yeah.
So
But that's
this
great.
does mean a lot to me for that reason.
Yeah,
So
like I was thinking back when I was younger, like my dad was never really into superheroes,
yeah.
but like I do remember, like he would take me to the comic book store or like he never discouraged my passion for it. And I remember one time we went to go see I think it was X-Men 3 at the
Yeah.
theaters, and that was a good time. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, little stuff like
Same,
that. Like it makes a big difference. So
same here. My dad always is very encouraging, has been encouraging about this entire thing. And he's not a comic book guy, but he's a film guy. So like one thing
yeah,
I really, especially this project is born out of me approaching him and being like, what are the films that you had like on the back burner that you wanted to get done? And then this is kind of the first one that I selected that we're gonna make it into a comic book first, and then whatever happens, happens, right? So
that's awesome.
yeah,
Like I will throw out a little suggestion. So my
hmm
dad, his thing growing up was westerns,
yeah,
and so I feel like superheroes are now like the new westerns, just because just like the popularity and the ubiquity and all that.
yeah.
So what about a superhero, like a black western superhero comic?
So yeah. Um, yes, not quite superhero, but I also before we decided to do this one because also my dad's like he's like ex-military. He's like a huge like military buff. Like he loves his war and shit. So that's like what we're doing. But I also approached him about kind of pretty much a Western sort of thing. It's and we are gonna whether it's me or me and him, it's gonna get done. I'll be honest, I kind of wrote this. I want to write this book, or like, I want to write this book for Michael B. Jordan, like the character design, at least. Like, I want to have the father of that book be designed after Michael B. Jordan's likeness. But it is a comic, a one shot. I'm thinking like 100-ish page, just like one shot thick book. About
Listen, yes, go ahead, tell me.
yeah, about a black family on a piece of land, and they've been doing their thing. They've been making their whiskey and doing whatever the fuck they've been doing, thriving on their land. But a group of uh like white kind of mercenary-ish bounty hunters, they come along and they discover that that father is actually the son of Isom Dart, who is like a real live black outlaw. I think he used to like smuggle guns for the Confederates, and then he was like an outlaw, or like he stole horses or some shit in real life. But the son is or the father in the story is gonna be like the son of Isom Dart, and like he's gonna have some money on his head. And so like basically those guys are gonna, I'm really spoiling this shit. Those guys are gonna like
Mhm.
try to basically like, it's gonna be a John Wick type shootout where they try to like one gun the family down and take them, and also like come for their land that they've,
Okay,
what I mean. So it's like a
all
standoff.
right.
Tentatively,
Does
it's called
sound
standoff. So
okay. That does sound exciting. And if you're writing stuff with Michael B. Jordan in mind, like I would say go for it because he seems to like comic books and anime and I remember he recently did the Netflix Raising Dion show. Are
yeah,
you familiar with that?
I
Yeah.
am. I never saw it, but I remember it. I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, like I watched it. It was 2 seasons and it was based off of just like one indie comic book. and then
Yeah,
that took off. So it's like you never know what could happen in the future. So
yeah,
fingers
man.
crossed. Wishing you the best.
And
Anything else
again,
you'd like to shout out?
yeah, real quick, but again, it's also like a power fantasy again. Like when you like as black people, when we look at like the history of like black people in like the United States who during these times like managed to get land for themselves, and you hear about how they got like ran off by a group of white people with guns and fucked up shit. It's like kind of in that same vein of like now we're retelling the story, and like no, now this time those white boys came and they got shot the fuck up like by these, you know what I mean? So it's yeah.
Yeah.
um
Sometimes we gotta retell our stories for
right,
sure.
right. As far as anything else to shout out, that's pretty much it. That's all we have in production. And
But that's plenty, man. Like I think that
yeah,
gives new audiences a lot to explore and hopefully to support because like the more fans support and come out and buy these books, the more you guys can make. And
right.
so I definitely want to encourage everyone to go check out these books, check out their website, breakthroughcomics.com, check them out on social media. And thanks again for coming on my show, Adam.
Thank you for
It's been a
having me,
pleasure
man.
having you. And
Appreciate
thanks to
you.
all of our listeners. You can catch me on YouTube pretty much every week now, just talking comics and comic book related things. And yeah, I'm on social media, DMVCBN on most platforms, primarily threads these days. I like to keep it simple. Like if I can just do one platform, you know, and
If
threads and Instagram are kind of combined, and then YouTube,
if
that's enough for me.
dude, if
But
only.
right.
Getting
But
tired
occasionally
of
you'll find me other places too. So I'm around. All
being a
right. Thanks,
PR person
everybody.
this time. Thank you.
Exactly. All right. Excelsior, everyone. See you next time.